like to call to order the Board of Directors special meeting on February 1st, 2023. And our board secretary is a little bit under the weather tonight and can't be with us. So
Can the old secretary come back?
yes, we're going to
Former
Yes.
Yeah.
Director.
I didn't mean
Scott
to-
Troy as our board secretary for this meeting. Okay, y'all done razzing and
Yeah.
you want to give him a little more grief. With that, Mr. Secretary, will you give us our roll call, please?
Yes, sir. Mr. Wade,
Present.
Mr. McLean,
Present.
Mr. McKellar,
Present.
Mr. Karen, present, Ms. Jordan,
Present.
Ms. Kaczynski,
Present.
and Mr. Gooch.
Present.
All present, Mr. Gooch.
Thank you. First item on our agenda and our only item on our agenda is request to award contract for emergency sewer construction at the wastewater treatment plant and supporting budget amendment. And we're going to hear from our executive director, our engineering director, and our finance director.
All right,
Mark, you starting us off?
I am starting us off.
Okay.
I believe everybody understand or everybody knows what some of the issue that we had, but I'm gonna touch on some of that. Give a little more information to you and also any public that may be listening. So last Wednesday night at the wastewater treatment plant, a 36-inch primary sewer line ruptured at the plant. This is a line that is located between two treatment portions of the plant. This rupture resulted in approximately 6,000 gallons of primary treated wastewater hitting the ground. This was not raw sewage. This had gone through initial treatment at the plant. So we did notify the Division of Environmental Quality and notified them of the sewer that did come out of the manhole and onto the ground. So we're in compliance there. So we ultimately had to shut the plant down and store water or store the incoming wastewater in the equalization basin so we could develop a plan to fix this problem. Ultimately, we ended up renting pumps, got a bypass system put in place, and by about 2 a.m. last Wednesday night, we were able to get the plant back in operation. The plant is working now, but it is relying on this bypass pump system. So when you're relying on a pump system like this, any failure in those pumps would result in another plant shutdown. So that is the reason why we wanted to have this board meeting tonight to present this and get authorization to proceed with a permanent repair. Did not want to wait 2 more weeks with bypass pumps running for the normal board meeting. So so after the break and the temporary fix last Wednesday, I contacted 3 contracting firms to try to come in and look at the break and give us quotes on the repairs. Due to schedules, I could only get 2 contractors here and did not want to spend a lot more time trying to work and get more guys here. So ultimately worked with 2 contractors and we received quotes from 2. And I say quotes, these are their estimates. Because given the situation that we have, you can't get a firm down to the penny quote. There's a lot of uncertainty. So they did the best they could to put quotes together. You can see here a table that shows the 2 quotes that we did receive. Now there is a big difference between these 2. HG Reynolds was about $103,000. Carolina Civil Works was $210,000. Some of the difference there. HG Reynolds thought that they quoted about 10 days of repair. Carolina Civil Works quoted 15 days of repair. So there's labor and equipment time there. Carolina Civil Works also quoted a little bit more pipe needed. They quoted about twice as much pipe as HG Reynolds. So once I did a full apples to apples comparison and looked at, if HG Reynolds if they took 3 weeks to do it, or Carolina Civil Works took 2 weeks and we took money off, it still ended up being that HG Reynolds was about $55,000 cheaper, all things being considered. I hope that makes sense. So our recommendation is that, the board approve a contract with HG Rentals. With the cost estimate of $103,000, $103,021. But with the large uncertainty here, I am asking for a much larger contingency than you typically would see. So I threw a 25% contingency on this, which takes the total dollar figure to $128,776. Upon board approval, schedule wise for this, I will notify the contractor tonight, give them a written notice to proceed tomorrow. And we've been notified that they should be able to acquire all the materials, the pipes, the sleeves and so forth that we need to make this repair within 3 days. Quick summary of the repair. I guess I jumped ahead on this. So we would have to do a brief plant shutdown to relocate some of the bypass piping that we have. But we would have to remove a manhole and cut the broken pipe out, install a new pipe section. 36-inch pipe is hard to find and difficult to install, especially this deep in the ground. But get the manhole pipe installed and re-backfill to the area. So that's the scope of the work. Financially, funding for the repair will be from the designated capital improvement fund balance, and a budget amendment is following this item. Attached, you should have the cost estimate provided by HG Rentals. Strategic plan alignment falls into focus area number 2 for a reliable and sustainable sanitary sewer system. And finally, the executive director's recommendation is the board of directors approve emergency repair of the 36-inch sewer main located at the wastewater treatment plant to be provided by HG Rentals for the not to exceed amount of $128,776, excluding local and state taxes. And I'm glad you brought this up. On the screen here, you can see a picture that we from the 2016 upgrade. So the pipe that's at the bottom is the pipe in question. That's where the break occurred. There's the higher pipe that you see, that's an existing 36-inch gravity sewer line. That is the Northern Interceptor that comes into the plant right now. Behind that gravity line, you can see a trench box in place. Inside that trench box is where the manhole is now, where the break occurred. On the far side of that, you see another, I believe that's a 24-inch line that is conflicting here. And what is not shown is another 24-inch line that's right here next to this as well. So we've got to excavate and get down to this pipe that broke in the middle of all these other conflicts, and take out a manhole, cut out the bad pipe, replace the pipe, install a new manhole and backfill with keeping all these other lines in place and active. We cannot take any of these other lines offline. So this is the second picture taken from the 2016 construction. You can see inside that trench box that I identified in the last picture, this is the manhole and pipe in question. So inside this manhole is where the 2 breaks occurred in this pipe. So that shows where the break occurred. So that gives a little bit more information about what we're dealing with. I'll be glad to take any questions about what happened, the repairs, what we need to do.
Do we know yet what caused this pipe to rupture within 7 years?
So the pipe is, I checked with the engineer that designed this, and they did use what is called 401 line pipe, which is that's a lining on the interior of the pipe that is made to withstand corrosion. So the right material was installed. When we last Wednesday night, it appeared the exterior of the pipe had corroded. I don't believe that it was the interior. I think something caused the exterior of the pipe to corrode. I don't know if gas was leaking into somewhere from the pipe and getting in the manhole, and that hydrogen sulfide gas caused the exterior of the pipe to deteriorate. I'm not sure if that's what it is. We're going to investigate further. Once we get ready to start on this, I'm going to CCTV this line to look at the interior of it. Just last Wednesday night, we did not do a lot of investigation. We were a lot more concerned with getting the plant back in operation. So, we didn't go down there and do a lot of, close-up investigation. We were just trying to get the plant back going. So.
I was just looking at it, trying to figure out how we're gonna write the contract when I look at the rental hourly pricing. So we're going to say that these are the unit price costs, and then the total not to exceed amounts 128,000.
So that's correct. They gave us their best estimates for what it's gonna take to do this. They've got it broken down with, materials and labor and equipment. And I think everything is based on a 10 days of construction. I believe that's what's on the quote here. We do have, I believe there's some hourly rates, so. That's my assumption, is we would write this based on what the rates they gave us and just do it at a not to exceed amount.
But in other words, what I'm looking at, it's got the most variability, and it's the daily rate, not 10 hours at $300 an hour.
You got that, and you got some of the equipment rentals,
Right.
not the equipment. So you got, a 330 excavator at $875 a day. So if it goes from 10 days to 15 days, that number goes up.
But I guess what we're gonna need to do is just set that not to exceed amount, and instead of it being a contingency, we just do the contract as a not to exceed, but have it on a unit cost basis.
Yes, sir. I think so.
And HG Reynolds is okay with that, you think?
Yeah. And if things go smoothly, it may be less than this, but. We just don't know. There's a lot of uncertainty here. I think you can tell from that picture and all the conflicts, everything is in the way. It's not gonna be the easiest project.
Mr. Chair, can I just make a comment here? Mark, could you speak to the pumps again, please? Because it sounds like that we're relying on the plant operating on one pump, and if it fails, there's an issue there. So I know we have two pumps on site, right? So we do have a backup pump on site as well, in case we do have problems with that. Would you just explain that briefly
Okay.
to the board as well?
So from the pictures that we just showed, the pipe, it carries water from oxidation basins to a splitter box, which takes flow to the clarifiers. I won't get into all the detail of that, but what we've done, the break occurred inside the manhole. So we've got two 6-inch bypass pumps sitting out there next to this manhole right now. We've got the suction hoses in that manhole. So we're taking full, so when we turn the plant back on, the wastewater is going through that pipe to that splitter box. But with the holes in the pipe, the wastewater is coming out in the manhole, like when the spill occurred. So we've got the pumps taking the flow that's spilling out in the manhole, and we're taking it and directing it straight into that splitter box versus going through the pipe. So a large percentage of the flow is going through the pipe like it should be, and then anything that's spilling out, the pumps are taking flow to the splitter box. So operation of the plant is fine. There's no impact to the treatment of the plant. The flow is getting to where it's supposed to go, but we're relying on those two 6-inch pumps. So if those pumps were to go down, we'd have to shut the plant down immediately
And get more pumps.
and get more pumps.
Okay, thank you.
Are they our pumps or have we rented them?
We are renting those, and I've got it's about $13,000. I've got lined up for a 1 month rental, because we just did a 4-month rental because we knew it takes some time to get all this in place and do construction. So we've got the 2 pumps rented plus a fuel tank. The pumps have, I think, around 50-gallon tanks on them, and if you run those pumps wide open, you have to fill it up once a day.
Uh-huh.
So we end up renting a fuel tank to sit next to them, so we can fill up about every 3 days instead of every day. So
And the other question I have is, who did the work in 2016?
So the general contractor was, I believe it was Choate Construction, and they had a subcontractor. I'm not sure who the subcontractor was. I can get that information.
As long as it wasn't HG Reynolds, that was my concern.
It was not HG Reynolds.
That was my concern.
It was not HG Reynolds.
Is under normal flow is one pump taking care of it. And the second one comes on, second one is back up, and it also comes on as a secondary pump. When
So-
flow is increased.
We ran the numbers Wednesday night, and we needed a larger pump than a 6 to handle all the flow that was coming in during a rain event. Our normal flow is about 2.2 million gallons per day is what we treat. During rain events, inflow got up to around 7.5.
Wow.
Wednesday night. So we sized that we needed a larger pump. They didn't have a larger pump. I said, well, let's get 2 smaller pumps. So under normal flow, that 2.2, I think 1 6-inch pump can handle that. a rain event where we have more flow coming into the plant, we would have to crank both pumps up to operate. But I really like having that second pump there in case the first goes down.
Yeah.
So it's 13,000 a total or a day or?
That's 13,000 for 4 weeks of rental for the 2 pumps.
Okay,
And diesel fuel
all right,
for that month.
okay.
You know, these sorts of things never happen on a bright sunny day.
It was a cold, rainy Wednesday night.
When the blows are high.
When the flows are high, yeah, you couldn't pick much worse of a time, but
So basically what's going through that pipe is mixed liquor from the oxidation ditch into the clarifier.
yes.
Okay,
So I do want to reiterate, it's not raw sewage.
yeah.
It has gone through some treatment, not the whole plant worth of treatment, but
It's partially treated. It hadn't been disinfected.
right.
It's the main thing.
All the chunks of potato.
So,
Oh, I
Yes.
did not say that.
yes.
Yes, they have. Any other questions for me?
Ready to make a motion?
Okay. All right, do I hear a motion to approve the request to award the contract?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion that we approve the emergency repair 36-inch sewer main located at the wastewater treatment plant to be provided by HG Reynolds for the not to exceed amount of $128,776, excluding local and sales tax.
Second.
Have a motion, have a second. Any discussion on the motion? Any questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed likewise. Motion carries. Now we get.
Turn it over to the money man.
Just one question, Janet. If you do this contract not to exceed, and it does happen to exceed, do they have to come back to the board for more money, or would that fall within Scott's?
I think they need to do a change order, and I'll let Richard answer how he would handle anything that exceeded that.
Okay,
Yeah, so it'd have to be a change order, and that change order would have to come back to the board.
That's the way I would,
so if it exceeds the not to exceed number,
right.
we hope it won't, but
So hopefully
Sometimes
it
you
won't exceed
prepare
that
for the-
contingency of 25% though, I think.
But,
Yeah.
well, and I'm not looking at it, and I didn't look at it really as a contingency. I looked at it as a not to exceed amount. So it's not a separate contingency above the not to exceed contract amount.
Right, but it's built in that not to exceed amount, is
Right.
what I'm saying. So
Right,
hopefully
right.
that wouldn't exceed that.
Right.
yeah,
What's built in is the contingency.
as the old saying goes, you prepare for the worst and hope for the best.
Well, and if we write it as a not to exceed, the only reason that they would have to come back for a change order would be if there was an unexpected condition. And not, so that's the intent, is to write it as a not to
Yeah.
exceed, and if it's just what they expect and it takes them longer, that's on them.
Okay. As long as we kind of hold them as low as we can.
Yeah, I think that, I agree with Jim. I think that's the best way to handle it, though.
Okay.
The next item is directly related to that. It's budget amendment number 10. I won't go through all the verbiage because it's the same background Mark just told you about what we're doing the budget amendment for, what type of repair it is. I'll highlight a couple of items. On the supporting document, you'll see what the questions were about earlier. There's $11,000 built into the budget amendment for the rental of the 2 pumps and all the equipment. There's $2,500 built in for diesel fuel to run those pumps. And then there's, of course, the $128,000 that we just talked about for the actual repair to occur. So you'll see a list of the previous, one other note on that. Those 2 items were approved. Purchase order issued under the executive director's authority to do so in an emergency situation, which is up to $90,000. He alerted the board last week as required by the policy. So we are in compliance with the purchasing policy for those 2 items. You'll see the previous budget amendments 1 through 9 were previously approved by the board. The total of those is $2,064,888. And then the budget amendment itself
is transferring from fund balance $142,500. It's appropriating expenditures to the wastewater treatment plant for the repairs, rentals, and fuel of $142,500. And your supporting document is the breakdown of those expenses. The board of directors, the executive director's recommendation is that the board of directors approve budget amendment number 10 as presented.
Make a motion, we approve that.
Second. We have a motion and a second. Any questions? We'll go to the vote. All those in favor? Aye. All those opposed? Ayes have it, motion carried. And that concludes our business with the emergency, and now we have comments from our executive director.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, board members, for responding so quickly to my request to have this special meeting for this evening. I greatly appreciate that everybody was responsive to my calls, and it lined up quite well that everyone was available at 7 o'clock this evening. So thank you again for being here this evening and supporting us in this important construction item that we have in front of us. I also want to thank Mark and Richard for what they've done this evening to kind of pull this project together for us as well. And as you know, it was quite a challenging week last week with staff, had some illness around the office, so had some challenges with that as well. And in the midst of all that, we decided to have a sewer emergency pop up as well. But again, kudos to the team and all the supporting members, as well as our utility team members and superintendents that assisted on this, that the crews really came together well. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Any comments from our attorney?
No, sir.
No. Mr. McKellar, you have any comments for us?
Not tonight.
Okay. Mr. Way,
Not tonight.
Mr. McLean,
No, sir.
Mr. Karen. Yep. Ms. Jordan,
No comment.
Mr. Kaczynski.
Thank you to Richard and Mark and our executive director for taking care of this. And now the weather's getting colder, so there might be more, so excitement, but thank you all so much for making yourselves available for tonight also.
And thank everyone for coming tonight, and appreciate it. I appreciate the attendance and the interest, and thank you to the Saguasa staff from top to bottom. Doing an excellent job. We thank you. We appreciate you. And with that,
Motion to adjourn.
we have a motion to adjourn. Do you hear a second?
Second.
You have a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? I didn't think there was going to be any questions on that. So we stand adjourned. Thank you.
Okay.
Yes.